rights. And my name is Cynthia Davis. Next slide. Just to let you know a little bit about who I am. For 8 years I was in the Missouri State Legislature, and before that I was in local government. I do a weekly show called Homefront, and I'm the executive director for the Center for Marriage Policy. So what do you think the problem is? I go with that. That's a good one. Let's move to the next slide. These are the symptoms that we've got a problem, okay? Our country voted for Barack Obama not once but twice.
I didn't.
Donald Trump is the front runner, and most people cannot even tell you what the sales tax rate is. I went to California last week, and I forgot to pack my nightgown, so I had to make an emergency trip to the store. And as I was buying it, and the woman told me the total, I said, "What is your sales tax rate here?" And she looked at me with this blank stare and said, "Nobody's ever asked me that before. I have no idea." Folks, that's just a symptom of the problem. The people want to let government do what it's doing, and we won't ask any questions. Next slide. What does bind us together? I can feel that there's something binding us together here in this room today. But I also want you to think about a comment Abraham Lincoln made in his first inaugural address. He said, "The Union is much older than the Constitution. The faith of all of the then 13 states expressly plighted and engaged that it should be perpetual." There's something beyond that transcends just the printed word. It's our values in our heart. Next slide. So what does home look like? And I have to say, if any of you have heard some of the political speeches, I've so far heard Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and Ben Carson, and there are a myriad of others say, "But that's not us." Well, who is us? What is us? What are we? How dare you speak for me? Next slide. What is the American spirit? It is that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Yeah, that's us, folks. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And as we said at the beginning of the meeting, we believe in one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So when we see something happen that does not look like justice, it violates who we are. So I want to talk to you about the Constitution, because that's really a brilliant beginning point. And Article 1, Section 1 says, "All legislative powers therein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of the Senate and House of Representatives." Well, what I love about this is it's so amazingly simple. You know what? It's simple enough that I can understand it, you can understand it, you don't have to be an attorney to explain it, describe it, interpret it. It really says that all the laws. Now, some of you are wondering, what does all mean? And the answer is, it means all. So, all laws means that Congress does not, if Congress didn't pass a bill authorizing it, then it cannot be a legitimate law. The federal government cannot do it if it was not made into law by Congress. Next slide. So here's what Congress cannot do. Article 1, Section 8 is the constitutionally authorized list of what Congress can do. And guess what? The Bureau of Land Management, the Department of Natural Resources, and the EPA aren't even on that list. They're not mentioned in the Constitution anywhere. So let's talk about what that means with land ownership. Why would the government own land? Article 1, Section 8 does say that the land can be purchased by the consent of the legislature of the state for the erection of forts, magazines, arsenals, dockyards, and other needful buildings. So we've got millions of acres in this country of land that's controlled by the Bureau of Land Management. And guess what? I'm not seeing any of those acres being used to build forts, dockyards, and magazines, arsenals, or other needful buildings. So there you have it. It's in the Constitution. What can Congress do? If these governmental bureaucracies are a creation of Congress, then Congress can uncreate them. So at the bare minimum, if Congress doesn't want to abolish these Frankenstein-like monsters, they can at least cut the funding. It's amazing what can happen to an overbloated, obese bureaucracy as soon as the funding goes away. Facebook, and it really describes where we are today, not to depress anybody, but it says you are free as long as we control your resources, as long as we control your education, your currency, your internet, military justice, and your land. How free really are we? Don't ever let anybody get away with saying we have 3 co-equal branches of government, because they're not co-equal. There are 3 branches, but of the 3 branches, if there's anything going on in our federal government that you don't approve of, blame the House of Representatives, because they provided the funding that enabled that activity to go on. Then remember to blame we the people. Sorry if I offend anybody, but we are the ones who elect the members of the House once every 2 years. We can control this by picking better people. I put a picture of some sheep in here. Now, I live in St. Charles County, which is a very densely populated area. But I did have 3 sheep at one time in a very built-up, well, here's what happened. My kids had 3 sheep. And then when the city of O'Fallon told my kids they couldn't have 25 chickens, I thought we better get rid of the sheep before they say anything about that. Nevertheless, what's really special is all the lessons we can learn, because you've heard of people being compared with sheep before. And even though it's not flattering, I got a little bit of trivia recently that maybe not all of you know about, but did you know that a jackrabbit can cause a stampede among the sheep? It's true. The sheep panic, they get scared, then one starts getting freaked out, and the rest of them get freaked out, and they don't know why they're all nervous, but one of them started it, and if one's nervous, we're all going to be nervous, and that's what is going on with these bureaucracies. We've got a jackrabbit over here, the BLM or the DNR or the EPA, or I can list all kinds of initials, but what's happening is they are trying to freak us out. And a lot of people get scared, not realizing that a jackrabbit is way smaller than a sheep. We are the people, we're in charge, we're bigger than them. And there's no reason for us to get nervous because the power still is in our ability. Next slide. It's like parents and kids. Now, I do have 7 children, so I'm just going to give you this story, and some of you in here may have children too. But if a parent allows his child to commit a crime, whose fault is it, really? If the parent didn't mean for the child to steal, he needs to rein him in. You can't go over to Walmart, have your child shoplift, bring the goods out to the car and say that's okay. That's what our Congress has done. They've delegated all the responsibility to the bureaucracies. The bureaucracies are harassing the people, and then the Congress is saying it wasn't me that did it. I actually prepared this slide before I knew we were going to have the presentation about the Star-Spangled Banner. But as the rockets are going off around us, and I'm using the LaVoy Finicum story, I'm using every egregious act, and there's a list. Yeah, we can argue about what's happening in Iron County and Oregon County, and you know what? It's only a matter of time before it's going to be in every county and in every neighborhood and everywhere where we all live. Those are the rockets exploding, but as they're exploding, we're finding the flag is still there because we still are there, and the spirit of America is still coming out. It's up to us to let them know, oh yes, our flag is still here. Go ahead with your fireworks and you try and explode our country, and let's see what's going to last in the end. It's pretty quick and simple. Number 1, fire Congress. Number 2, elect constitutional sheriffs in your county. And number 3, read and understand and apply the Constitution. It's going to be okay. That's our birthright. That's our document. That's everything we have to rest on. And it worked back then and it will still work now. All we have to do is wake up and use it. You can find me real easy, plus I have cards at my table. It's real simple, CynthiaDavis.net. Sign up for my newsletter. I send out a newsletter every week to inform and educate. You can subscribe to our podcast. Even Bob has been on it before. Right, Bob? He's been a guest. And you can donate to keep the show going, and then we've got a book table over here. So thank you, Bob.